Welcome to the We Get Outdoors podcast. My name is Rob Yates. I am your host and welcome to this episode. In this episode, we get to know expert canoeist, professional canoe coach and professional canoe expedition leader, James Weir. We find out how James and I originally met, how you can use helicopters for canoeing, and how James regularly creates once-in-a-lifetime experiences for all his clients. We also find out about James's coaching philosophy, canoeing philosophy. We talk about psychology and how the mind works, and how you can get outdoors and have 10 times the quality of adventures with your friends, family, and anybody else you choose to spend time in the outdoors with. If any of that sounds interesting to you, then I suggest you jump right in now and listen to this epic episode. This episode is brought to you by the We Get Outdoors tribe, where your next adventure is just one click away. You can join this, the fastest growing outdoor group on planet Earth, and become part of a tribe of like-minded outdoor enthusiasts, sharing your adventures, their adventures, trips and insights, and helping to ensure you plan and have the most perfect adventures. Click on the link in the description below to join for free right now. Mr. Weir, Mr. James Weir, it's a delight to have you on the We Get Outdoors podcast today. I want to start off by us talking about one of my funniest kayaking paddling experiences ever. And it starts something like this, and I want you to fill in the gaps. If it starts something like this, we're both either side of my car getting changed to go kayaking very, very quickly. There's a helicopter busily waiting for us. We run around to go and get our boats and suddenly realize that we're dressed in identical kayaking clothing.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was, mate.
That's exactly how it was. It's like, what were we doing? Where were we? How did it happen? What should the audience know? Did we survive? I don't know. What can you say about that day together?
Well, I tell you, we weren't exactly identical because I've got considerably more hair than you have.
That's very true.
Well, it was quite easy to tell the difference between the pair of us. There was one of us with lots and one of us with hardly any. So there wasn't a danger of us getting mixed up. Yeah, we were in New Zealand and walking down the high street in Greymouth, and I was daydreaming around, wondering what I was going to do or where I was going to go. And I look across the other side of the road, and I'm like, oh, I think I know that dude over there. And then you turn around and look at me, we're like, hi. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were here. And we stood in the middle of the road, probably till a car came along and beeped at us, and we had to get out the road. And decided that the next day we should go to the river together. And we read through our guidebooks and picked our brains and decided to go to, I don't even know what the river was called, in all fairness. Do you know?
I was just sat here listening to this and going, James never going to remember what the name of that river is. And then he asked me, and I've got no clue either.
That's probably one of the most embarrassing things for me, professionally embarrassing. I'm a professional river guide, and my memory for rivers, their names, and what happens on them is absolutely atrocious. I just can't do it. Right? I go to a river, I've been there maybe 5, 6, 7 times, and I'm like, oh, right, we're going to come around the corner, there's me a rapid on the left, and we come around the corner, it's just flat, and I'm like, damn.
What I do remember about this river was that, I don't know, I can't remember the name of the river, but I remember that the guidebook said that the last 5 or 8 kilometers was a grade 2 paddle out.
Well,
and we were paddling out, and both of us had our knees up from our kayaks, our knees up in our spray skirts. And I remember coming round a bend to find a freaking huge pour over across the whole river. And me managing to tuck my knees back into their thigh braces, and you going over the pour over and getting back looped with your knees still in the spray skirt and rolled up like it as well without the spray skirt imploding. That's freaking genius.
Yeah, you've got to be lucky in life. I remember flying up in the helicopter. We were sort of helicopter scouting, and I looked out the window. I'm like, Rob, so that rapid looks pretty big. And you're like, no, it's pretty big, dude. And we landed, and we got in got in our boats, paddled down, did the first rapid. It was a good rapid. I can't really remember much about it, but I remember it was fun. And we were coming up to the bit which looked big out from the helicopter. And in real life, it was quite intimidating.
Yeah. And we had 2 random Australians with us.
Okay, I've got absolutely no idea, but there we go. This is my memory playing up. We had Australia.
Yeah, we had 2 random Australians with us, and I remember that we eddied out. We broke into the white water, and we went down the first 100 meters, maybe 200 meters of like quite easy class 3. I remember paddling into an eddy to find a couple skinny dipping in the eddy next to me as well. In the middle, and we'd flown in a helicopter for what, 20 minutes or something like that to get up there.
Oh, they hiked in, obviously, for some privacy.
Yeah, that's it.
2 funny, identically dressed English people turning up in the eddy.
That's
What
it.
was the name of the river?
It's not the Hokapataki or something. Kokapataki. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember. I can remember us standing above a rock, above one particularly intimidating rapid, looking at it, talking about the line, and it was like a double drop. And there's you, me, and these 2 Australians, and we looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get to that first drop. I'll boof the first drop. There's quite a big hole, quite a lot of toe back. Boof it, land on the toe back, few paddle strokes, so another boof stroke, do the next little drop, go to the eddy at the bottom. I went first, paddled out of the eddy, went over the first drop, caught an edge, went upside down, did the second drop upside down, and rolled up in the eddy at the bottom. And I remember you giving me the international sign for you're a wanker, and jumping in your kayak and did exactly the same thing as me. The 2 Australian guys looked very bemused. They managed to like boof the first drop, and then both of them got pounded in the second drop and swam.
This is great. I mean, I sometimes forget how long I've been out and about and doing things. This must have been in 2004. So this is 15 years ago.
That's a long time ago, hey?
15 years ago. The last time I was in New Zealand. It's far too long. I should go again.
We should. I'm up for that. Let's make a plan. And one of our mutual friends, Anna, now lives in New Zealand again.
Indeed. Oh, there we go. That's half a plan made already.
There we go. We'll make a date. Do you have any other memories of that day other than just looking down at that white water from that helicopter and going, holy fuck, this could be bigger than we think it is?
I remember approaching a left-hand, like a 90-degree left-hand bend that seems to be going in sort of like a little gorge. And we'd headed out on the left above this bend, so on the inside of the bend, because there wasn't anyone on the outside of the bend to go and have a look. And from there, we could sort of see down into the corner. There was another eddy. And I looked, I said, I'm just going to go into the eddy and hope that we can go further, because there was no other way we could scout, and it didn't really seem possible to portage very easily. And just one of those things where you have to take your heart in your mouth, take your heart in your hands, and be lucky. And we went around the corner and into the eddy, and it seemed to be that it was going to work for us, and it worked out. I didn't get stuck, which would have been embarrassing. I'm like, help, I'm stuck in the corner. I shouldn't have done that really at all. I took a risk. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it works. My memory from flying up in a helicopter was that it should all go.
Yeah.
And it's always it's that fascinating game, I think, on the river, and you're sat there, and I sort of zone out into this special place on the river. It's kind of a bit like playing chess sometimes, and you're sort of going from point to point and thinking about your plan. And if you're paddling with other people, it's thinking who's going to go where and who's going to do what now and what's going to happen if they do this. I can concentrate so much. It's a fascinating place to be. And it doesn't really matter too much if it's easy class 2, 3 or much harder whitewater. I think the thought process is the same. The part of the risk, I suppose, of on an easy class 2, if somebody trips over a rock and falls out of their boat, is kind of small most of the time. the risk of somebody doing that in a class 4 and a class 5 rapid is much bigger. And that changes the focus a little bit, but it's the same process. I don't think I think any differently on easy rivers or hard rivers.
But also the people change as well often. So, you tend to have more, I'd say, clients on a class 2 river more often than not, more often than just bobbing around with mates.
Your children. I have my children on a class 2 river.
I want to talk more about that in a second. I think that's I want to hear more about that. I've now got a 3.5-year-old who is paddling my playboat around the pool. We've got a pool in our back garden, but I want to talk more about that in a bit. But I think that on class 2 you have different sorts of people, or hopefully different sorts of people to class 4 or class 5, and so therefore the thought process is they kind of change. You're still evaluating the people you're with and trying to work out who's the numpty who's going to get him or herself in the biggest amount of hassle first, and what do I need to do to either not be present when it happens or be super present when it happens and try and prevent it or fish them out when it has happened. But it is a quiet. Do you find it like a mentally quiet place to be? Like the rest of the world's washed away and you're just focusing on that moment in hand?
Yeah, I think the rest of the world being washed away, yes. But I can be 100% concentrated on my time on the river, on my day on the river. But I'm not always just thinking about then. Like, I can be paddling with a group of people on the bit of river, and you'll be thinking about who's doing what, who's having a good day, who's hitting the lines they want, who's having a challenging day, and how's that going to reflect on what we're going to be doing in an hour, because we've still got 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 10 kilometers we can get a takeout. And how are these people in this mood, in this phase that they're in that day, going to handle the rest of it? And do I need to intervene and change something today? Like, if I know that around the corner we've got an awesome play wave, I don't know that everybody went to bed early last night as fit of beans, we can spend hours surfing and flat spinning there. But if everybody went to bed late and maybe opened another bottle of wine, I think, maybe we're going to have short sessions, we need to get to the takeout. And there's so many things going on. Like with group dynamics, with how fit people are, how people react. And I think if you've got customers who come regularly, people you know or friends you're with, it's sometimes easier to second guess them. I can look at a friend and go, "Oh, he looks terrible today." I'm like, "Dude, how are you going?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm awesome." And they're like, "Really?"
Yeah, you don't look like it.
Yeah, they're like, "Dude, you look shit." To be honest with you, he's like, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "Really?" And we can both be right. Like, I can make my assessment of my friend who I've known for 20 years and go, "Dude, you're in the right state." And he's like, no, I'm perfect. And as long as he feels good. And that's something else I think it's important. Like, if I get on the river feeling tired and broken, I'm going to have a tired and broken down the river. But if I get on the river feeling tired and broken, but full of beans and energized, I still have a good day. I'm just knackered when I get to the end.
Yeah.
And I'll probably fall asleep in the car on the way home as I'm going to draw on my face. But that's how it works.
Has that ever happened to you before?
Once or twice, yes. Well, the other thing, of course, which is really funny to play, is if you find someone sleeping in a shuttle or sleeping by the takeout. Do you know human Buckaroo?
I think, did we play that with a friend of ours, Graham, once?
I don't know, maybe. Like, basically, somebody falls asleep somewhere they shouldn't be falling asleep, and you take turns in balancing things on them. So you could put their helmet on their head, you could balance a paddle over their shoulder, or start piling things up on their lap, like throw bags or something like that. And sooner or later, they will wake up and there'll be an almighty crash as all this stuff goes flying everywhere. And they'll be really surprised, and it's really funny.
I think that a mutual friend of ours, Graham Jones, went to the pub one night when we were paddling somewhere with him and got himself a bit of a mess, I think would be the way to describe him. And I think that we, with other people, played Buckaroo with him. And I think in the end, we had a small sofa balanced on top of him.
I've definitely remember putting chairs on people and stuff like
that. Because you run out of small things after a while. And then you have to get into I'm going to up the ante and push it a bit further. Yeah.
Big things are much easier to balance.
That's very true.
That is science. Don't go messing around trying to balance a match on somebody's forehead. Put a pillow on their head, much better.
Yeah, big and squishy.
Yeah, and there's like if a lighter falls off somebody's head or a wallet, it's not going to make a big crash. That's no fun for anybody.
It's funny what you're talking about. Going back from human Buckaroo, because we could talk about that for at least an hour and a half. Like what you're actually talking about is what I think is missed in most guide training, leader training, coach training, and that's like some degree of knowledge around psychology of other people and psychology of yourself. And I don't mean like learning Freud or something like that. I mean that like observational, how is so-and-so today? And are their words matching their actions? Are they saying, yeah, I'm great? And then every time you see them do something, you're like, really? I've never seen you paddle while great that badly before, for instance. And then how do you deal with that with those people where you don't pop their bubble of feeling great, but equally you don't let themselves dig themselves a massive hole? And really that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Oh, I think if I had a massive ladder, I'd let some of my friends dig a big hole for themselves.
But you want a big ladder.
As long as you've got a net or a rope, like, carry on. I think as long as you can generate some kind of safety around it. Right, I don't see a problem with somebody having a whale of a time and doing stupid things.
No, that's not what I mean. But I mean like because I agree completely. I think people often learn more by doing stupid stuff when somebody else has got their back. People often learn by screwing it up for themselves. Like that stopper is more vicious than I thought it ever would be. And now I'm swimming, but it's fine because James is there and he's going to sort me out. I guess what I'm talking about is like being able to observe people in the environment that you're in and sussing out who is it that's going to dig themselves a hole that I can't pull them out of, and who's I don't know, emotionally stable enough to go and put themselves in a hole and then come back out again with a smile on their face. Who needs a cuddle? Like the metaphoric cuddle, and who would just be pissed off if I tried to give them a metaphoric cuddle. And I guess a lot of that really isn't taught. It's the stuff that arguably could be taught, but also is experience-based.
It's empathy. We're looking at how people react, and it's an interesting thing. You can know somebody for 20 years, like we've known each other for, and I haven't seen you for a while in person, but I'm pretty sure I could probably second guess quite a lot of things you would do and say and how you're feeling. I trust myself to do that. And then sometimes you meet other people like the Aussies who are on our trip with us. Like we didn't really know them at all. Then you start to second guess them and work out, are they having a good day, having a bad day? Is this the most crazy day of their lives? Is it something we do every other day?
I think it's fair to say, James, that day for those Australians was probably one of the craziest days on class 4 or 5 they've ever had.
It's good. It's good. And everybody had a beer at the takeout. Everybody's happy.
Well, we did. Do you remember what we did drink at the takeout?
I don't. I just say beer because that's probably what normally happens.
So I remember we made a fire because we were waiting for somebody for some reason. I can't remember who we were waiting for. We made a fire and we made a cup of tea. We put tea bags in a pot. We made tea and we couldn't find milk, but I did happen to have a bottle of rum. So we decided that rum would be a great substitute for milk.
This was like on a stone beach on the River Bright.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
that's just come flooding back to me now. And you and me sat there feeling really pleased with ourselves that we've got rum and tea.
that's it. That's it. That's it. And we went to go and find both. We both had girlfriends at the time. Yours is now your wife, and now is my ex-girlfriend. We went to go and find them, and I remember them being hideously sunburnt after that. And we were about 5 hours later than we said we would be, typically.
Who were we waiting for?
I have no idea. But we were waiting for somebody who, like, we'd promised a shuttle to, or I don't know. But we were waiting for. I have no idea. I just remember a fire, tea, and no milk and rum.
This is like a message going out to the world. If you're an Australian who was kayaking in New Zealand 15 years ago and met two English guys wearing the same clothes, can you help us fill in the memories and our black spots on this?
Yeah. In fact, I think that we do a whole bunch of Facebook advertising for these episodes, these podcasts. I think that I'm going to deliberately target, and I think they were from Brisbane or Melbourne. I don't know why that comes into my head, but I think I'm going to go and target some big Aussie cities and kayakers in those big Aussie cities and see if we can find those two Australians we paddled with that day.
That'd be great. You should podcast them as well.
Well, see if we can get their take on the same day on the river.
Yeah. Today, we were going to go kayaking and we bumped into these two stupid English people who were just talking and laughing and falling over into the river. And they'll probably have a completely different take on the day that we did.
Yeah. I do remember it being one of the funniest days paddling that I think we've ever had together. A
lot of laughs.
River smile. That's it. So these days, my friend, you live in Switzerland. You professional guide and professional coach. And I see from Facebook that you don't set foot in a kayak very often these days. Mostly it's in canoes. Tell the world a bit about James, what you currently do, where you currently are, why you currently do it. I don't know. Feel free. Anything.
Okay. Well, about James lives in the east of Switzerland, in a little village about 1,000 meters above sea level. I can ski to my house in the winter, which is nice. And about 10 minutes in the other direction is a lovely river with one of the most beautiful river gorges I know, called the Vorderrhein. It's half of the River Rhine, if that helps anybody. And I work for a company down there called Kanueists Universal and teach open canoeing and rescue for Rescue 3. And to cut a long story short, I just love going open canoeing. It's something which makes me really, 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 really happy. And I get to take people on the lake for the first time they sit in a canoe and the first time they hold a paddle and see what we're about and see if they get excited about it. And I go all the way to the other end. A couple of years ago, I took a group of canoeists through the Grand Canyon. So it's pretty much two massive ends of the spectrum, same company, same friends. And we do trips around Europe. I go to Slovenia, go to Austria, go to Corsica, go to France, go and have weeks around exploring the rivers, doing some coaching. I just having a great time, really. That's it. What else? I've got a wife and 3 children, a cat and 2 chickens.
2 chickens?
2 chickens, yeah? What's so funny about chickens?
No, I'm just imagining a cat and a chicken in the same room as each other, that's all.
It is funny because the cat's scared of the chickens and the chicken's scared of the cat. So if you watch them, like, one of them will start walking around the corner, and the other one will start walking around the corner, and they'll freeze, and then it'll flutter off and sprint off in other directions. And this has been going on for months, really, I suppose. How long have their chickens for? 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, like that. And it hasn't changed.
That is crazy. That is crazy. And I have to tell the world that you happen to live, in my opinion, in one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. Like
I think that's why I live here.
That way.
I've been to a lot of places on planet Earth. I've traveled a lot. I've enjoyed a lot. I've met a lot of people, seen a lot of things. And this particular corner of the world is quite simply one of the nicest I know.
What is it? The scenery, the people, the way of life, the way Switzerland operates like a perfect Swiss clock. I don't know. What is it that draws you to it?
There's a lot of things, but it's nice being here. Like, we're very privileged in Switzerland to live in such a stable, sensible country. If I can say that, I don't really like words like sensible and compromised, but to have a place to bring up a family, it's a nice word to use. We have so many opportunities to do things. Like I say, I'm looking out of my office window and I can see 1, 2, 3 different ski resorts. And
because you've got Flumslark on your doorstep, right?
We've got Flumslarks. I can see Briegels, and I can see Obersaxon. So it's awesome. In the winter, skiing, I've got on the other side of the road, we've got a cross-country skiing track, which is pretty cool. If I would ever go cross-country skiing, that was my New Year's resolution, was to go cross-country skiing, to learn that. But 6 days in, nothing's happened at all, so we'll see how that goes.
It could be the 2021 New Year's resolution.
No, I said that last year as well, so I should probably have a go at it this year. I did borrow some shoes last year.
Well, there you go. You're a part of the way there.
Yeah, I've given them back to the person I borrowed them from now. I'll borrow them again.
You've got to go find some, then find some skis to borrow, and you're a golden. You can go.
You need poles, and then if I'm really going to fit in, I'm probably going to need some ridiculous lycra costume as well.
I think I'd pay to see that, actually. I think that would be quite funny, with the dreadlocks pouring out the back of behind you as you're whistling along.
Yeah. Or falling over my skis. Who knows? Apparently, it's harder than it looks.
I've tried it in Norway. I used to spend a lot of time in Norway, and one of my Norwegian friends said, "Do you want to go skiing?" And for me, skiing is downhill, alpine skiing. And I'm like, "Oh, cool! I can do that. I'm pretty good at that. No worries." And in Norway, skiing means, well, for them is cross-country skiing or telemark skiing. Yeah. But that's skiing. And then downhill skiing, skiing as we know it, is called alpine. And so I was very full of myself until he gave me this pair of shoes and these pair of skis. And then I spent a lot of time. Yeah, it is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you updated on that mission. And what else? We've got lots of rivers here. Lots and lots of beautiful rivers. Like I said, the Vorderrhein, it's a lovely river. It's not the hardest river in the world, but it's a lovely river. And what's really cool about the Vorderrhein is, actually, when we're on that, selling one of my favorite places in the world, is there's a train which runs up and down the river, and you can shuttle your boat on a train. So it's quite an environmentally friendly place to go paddling. You don't have to have one car, or if you keep your boat by the train station, like we keep all our boats by the train station, you can get on a train once an hour and go up the river and then paddle back down, or paddle down the river and get the train back up again.
So that quickly, a lot of our listeners won't know what a shuttle is, because so that's all right. So a shuttle, for those who are listening, is you kayak down a river and or you do anything along a linear line, and then you have to find a way of getting yourself back to the start. And that process of getting back to the start is referred to as a shuttle. And you put your kayaks in the mail carriage or something like that? Is that right?
They've got a luggage wagon, which is almost always at the front of the train, and it comes into the station. You can open the door, pull the boats in, everybody climbs in, and off you go. And we've got luggage wagons are pretty big. I think my record is I got 23 or 24 open canoes in my luggage wagon.
That's huge.
It was very well loaded.
And how do you keep the guard happy as you're busy trying to get all those? He wants to keep it being Swiss. He wants to keep his train to schedule. And there's some guy with 24 canoes wanting to ram them in his luggage carriage.
I've been here for quite a while. We've got pretty slick at this, I have to say. We're pretty slick. We had a funny experience last summer, and we're getting some new trains apparently because our trains are old-fashioned looking and old, and so we're getting upgraded to moderner trains which are quieter and more efficient. And they bought some of the carriages to test to see how they ran up and down the tracks, I suppose. But they didn't bring a new luggage van with their new carriages. So we're stood there on the platform. I mean, we're quite a few people, maybe sort of 12 or 13 people with boats, canoes and kayaks. And this train comes around the corner and I look at my friend and she looks at me and we're like, bollocks. That sucks, doesn't it? And the locomotive driver cruises past us as he's cruising down to a stop and he's just shaking his head looking at us. And I was nodding my head looking at him and he was shaking his head. And then the guard jumped out and she looked at me and she's like, oh, that's a lot of boats. And I'm like, yep, that's a lot of boats. And we nearly made it. We got nearly all the boats in. It was so funny. You're sort of bending them round corners and putting them on top of chairs. And yeah, it was an adventure. A lot of people looking at us, taking photos, thinking, what on earth are these stupid people doing?
That's so. I often ask people, like on this podcast, what's your favorite location? And I guess we're talking about it. I mean, where you live, is it your favorite location, or is there somewhere else that you would not necessarily want to live, but like a favorite paddling location, or a favorite river, or a favorite something that isn't in the Vorderrhein Valley?
Oh. I've got lots of favorite things. We were talking about this at home the other day. What's your favorite food? You can't just have one favorite food. Like, there's lots of different things. I love my river here. There's rivers on Corsica I love the Socho River. I've had great times in Nepal. I've had nice times in Canada. I've loved being in New Zealand. I've loved being in Mexico. There's so many things out there. You've got a whole world as your playground. I would never like to say I only want one. Although, when we were in Mexico, we paddled a river called the Rio de Oro, which is the River of Gold. And that's an incredible river. And we decided that we would like to cut it out of Mexico and take it back home to Europe with us. And we were going to replace it with the river over here, which we didn't like very much.
You do a river exchange.
A river exchange, there. And it was this pretty serious conversation. I know what you're laughing about. We worked out how many kilometers we needed and how much of this other river we're going to cut out, which nobody really enjoyed, or we didn't enjoy. I think people do enjoy it, but I don't like it. And there's many amazing things about this river. One of the ones, it's warm, it's proper warm. It's board shorts and a rash vest warm, which is lovely. Mm-hmm. It's got awesome rapids in. It's got some really cool waterfalls in. It flows all the way into the sea, which all rivers do sooner or later. But it's not something that we as whitewater paddlers experience very much. Because between the fun whitewater bits and the sea, there's often quite a lot of flat, not so exciting stuff. But this one's got rapids pretty much all the way to the beach, which is cool. Yeah. So, two rivers on which to do that.
What was the river you were going to sacrifice?
The Bregenzer Ache, which is a river between the Swiss and Austrian border.
Yeah.
Which it's a dam-released river. And my experience is that whenever I go, they don't release as much water as they said they were going to. And it's always like, oh, bollocks, not again. And you're like, oh, it really wasn't worth coming again. And then my buddy, he was like, oh, do you know what would make this river even better? And I was like, oh, what would make this river even better? And this is probably how we ended up with this. We were going to take it home with us. He said, imagine if you replace the water with gin and tonic. Then we'd have a gin and tonic river. And we sat there musing about this for a while until I decided the idea was rubbish. because a good gin and tonic needs lumps of ice in it. And the one thing this river definitely doesn't need is lumps of ice in it. And the one thing a gin and tonic definitely doesn't need to be is 20 degrees warm.
I agree.
So
And there is a river. There is a river not so far from you called the Vasaska, which, I mean, it is far from you. It's a few hours drive away. But the Vasaska has that gin and tonic sapphire blue colour to it, doesn't it? That's pretty special.
Yes, and it's also quite cold, in all fairness. Yeah? So we could put gin and tonic in the Vasaska. That's a good idea.
And it's real like pretty exciting white water as well. It's not for sissies. So I think that would work quite nicely.
Yeah, and it's got lovely, nice rocks and everything. Yeah, I'm into that. Well, I'll speak to somebody about that, getting gin and tonic put into the Vasaska.
That sounds like a good thing to do. And I think that the people listening to this podcast, if they want to go to the Swiss-Italian Alps, the Vasaska Valley, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful valleys on my little list of beautiful valleys. I mean, you get to go past the dam where James Bond did his bungee jump off one of his. Did that, and then in the summer there's amazing white water. And what possibly could go wrong? Because all the local Italian girls go there in their bikinis or lack of bikinis, nude, and go and sunbathe on the beautiful rocks either side of the wonderful class 4-5 rapids, which means you end up with a mental challenge, because whilst you should be concentrating 100% on the water and not drowning or not screwing it up, there's also other distractions for the eye as well, which ends up to be somewhat of a challenge.
You sound like somebody who's missed your line and landed on your head in that river.
I got very confused my first time down that river around what, that sort of like sensory overwhelm of there's too much going into my head right now. And it was quite an experience.
And because you enjoyed the river so much, you've been there lots of times since, I presume.
I have been there lots of times since. You're right. It's a very special place. So, in your guiding, coaching, paddling, outdoor world, what is there that really makes you smile? What is there that makes you happiest in that world?
Oh, happy days on beautiful rivers with my friends.
There you go. That's simple.
Yeah, it's simple. You can nice lines, other people having nice lines, learning something new, discovering a new river. It's always nice to find a new place. It's quite easy for me. I've got a terrible memory, so I sometimes forget rivers that I've been on, and I can do them for the first time twice, which is exciting. It is like, and we'll go somewhere like I've been here before, and what's it like? I've got no idea.
Yeah,
it was great.
There's some water in the rocks, and the rocks create rapids. The end.
Yeah, and waves and smiles and rivers change anyway. Like some people think they can remember where they're going, and they come around the corner and it's been a landslide or something, and rivers changed anyway.
That's it. I often think that knowing a river breeds a huge amount of dangerous complacency in people, where they believe that around the next corner it'll all be fine, and then they find, you say, a landslide, a tree, whatever it might be. I found a car in a river once, across. It was quite a narrow little creek, across about 2/3 of it, and it had obviously had some major epic and skidded off the road and whatever else. That threw a spanner in a works to something I thought I knew quite well.
Yeah, I think it's very important in that situation not to get so complacent about, I know where I'm going, so I'm not going to look where I'm going. The water levels change, the rivers change, the mountain changes, there's all the weather changes. Like, you can do something you've done hundreds of times by beautiful weather, and all of a sudden do it in a thunderstorm. It's going to be a different experience. I went skiing on Christmas Eve. Actually, I went skiing on Christmas Eve in the dark.
Hey, that's super cool.
Yes, it is super cool. It was an incredible experience. We had about 80 km/h winds. snow, little to no visibility, and it was exciting. It wasn't exactly what we were planning to do that day, but it was how the day ended up.
And we're quite similar when it comes to great days outside, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for you and I, it's not much to do about the grade of the white water, like how hard our day was. It's much more about like the beauty and the location and of the location, and also the quality of the people that we're with. Like I don't have to push massive hard grades to have a great day out. I can do crazy cool stuff on a river with really cool people, and it can be a super easy run, but if it's beautiful and beautiful people, that's me happy for a day.
No, I completely agree with you. There's so much to be found on class 3. Let's take that for an example. There's so many things you can do. Well, I've got like a bit of a, how do we say it? Like a saying I use with some of my customers, my guests. I say that what we're going to do is we're going to learn to do all the moves and run all the lines and surf all the waves and hit all the eddies on class 2. And when you can do that, you can do straight away half of class 3. And then we could learn to surf all the waves and hit all the eddies and paddle all the lines that are on class 3. And that will keep you busy for years, in all fairness. It will. And then you can do half of class 4. And then once you've found somebody who can hit all the lines and hit all the eddies and surf all the waves on class 4, then you've found someone who's a really, really, really good paddler.
Yes.
Like there's, I speak to people. I'm a class 4 kayaker. I'm a class 5 kayaker, but they can't hit eddies on class 2. Like how does that work? That's something which fascinates me about people. They're so determined to go harder, faster, higher, stronger than everybody else or anybody else. They've missed a massive chunk of enjoyment.
But not just that. I often think about when you're pushing something, so you're in a more challenging environment. You often rely on your foundation to support what you're doing. And what I'm finding more and more and more in the whole of the outdoors these days is that people have, I'd say, an inverted triangle. So their triangle's balanced on the pointy end. So they've done, in our whitewater world, they've done very little grade 1, 2, 3, and that's the pointy end. And now they're trying to do loads of class 4. But we both know that an inverted triangle is really fragile and wobbly and not very stable. And so then they have no resources to fall back on when they do have a problem in that harder environment, and then accidents happen far quicker.
Oh, we can say they've got whitewater Buckaroo, can't we?
That's very, very true. Whitewater Buckaroo. You've got, speaking of foundations, I mean, you've got an immense foundation in paddle sports. I mean, I think both of us started, I started paddling when I was 8, and I'd imagine for you it was not too different, probably within 5 or 7. What is it that gave you that massive foundation before you started pushing grades, before you started competing in freestyle canoe? What was it that gave you that foundation?
Adventure Dolphin, my canoe club, where I started on the Thames in paddleboard. It all started, I was meant to go on a school trip, I think a PGL holiday. And I was sick. I had glandular fever. I've got no idea. I was ill. I couldn't go. I was gutted. And shortly afterwards, when I was getting better, there was either the canoe club had an open day or it was Pangbourne Fate. And where that happened, you could go along and like try out canoeing. And I went with my family and sat in a boat and had a paddle around. And I was happy. I thought that's good. I enjoyed that. And so I started going on Sunday mornings when everybody else with a canoe club went out on the Thames on the flat water, and we paddled up and down a bit, or played polo, or played some silly games or stuff like that. And the first 5-6 years of my paddling life, I think, were 95% on flat water. And it was never, nobody ever came up, nobody ever said it was boring, but we always found something to do. And then we started out sort of in early teens, when you start going around doing stuff on your own. We used to go out with our slalom boats and go and do slalom sessions around in flowing water. And I spent a very long time just being busy on very easy whitewater, also class 1, class 2. And then when I think 14, maybe, was the first time I went to the Ardèche in France with Adventure Dolphin, and we paddled there, which in itself isn't much more than class 2, 3 anyway, the river. But I had a good basis there to go out with people and enjoy myself. And I think, as you say, with the foundation, I felt confident and safe to start progressing.
And I think one of the things that's missed out, or not missed, one of the things that makes a great coach or a great coaching environment is that ability of the environment and the coach. And I don't mean, when I say hold people back, I don't mean that in a negative way, but almost like the longer you can keep people entertained, engaged, laughing and learning on easy or even benign environments, ultimately the faster they'll progress to a higher level and be able to maintain that higher level for a longer period of time. And I just think that there's I think that's an art, and I don't think that very many people have that art. They think that to progress the paddler, they have to go to a harder grade. And I think we're both in agreement that that's just not true. You can do really hard, sketchy stuff on grade 3 that's super challenging even for us now, but the consequence of screwing it up is pretty close to nothing. So you can afford to take those risks where you couldn't afford to on a class 5 rapid.
Yes, I'm going to share a secret with you and the rest of your listeners. I've got a game I play with in some of my courses, and it's called the duck game. And
right.
the duck, yeah, you can replace. We've played the duck. We've used donuts for this. We've also used bottles of beer for this game. But the normal version is using a bath duck, and one person goes out ahead and paddles into an eddy, stops and puts the duck on top of the rock or where they stopped. And then somebody else has got to go and fetch the duck and then go and put the duck somewhere else. And that carries on. And you'd be amazed how many eddies you can find which you've never been to on a local run because somebody else goes there. Because we're creatures of habit. We always do the same things, even if we try not to. And also I find you're paddling towards an eddy and suddenly you realize that you're not quite as quick as you thought you were. Or, I can't be bothered. And you sort of glance off and carry on as if you didn't want to go there at all, although the plan was to go there.
Yeah.
And nobody will notice because nobody knows. But if you've got a duck in there, it's quite clear to everybody's mind where you should be going. And if you miss the goal. And it's a fascinating, it encourages people to paddle out in front of the group, which is an important skill. It encourages a massive amount of river awareness because you're constantly looking around. Where's the duck? Where are the other people? Where are they going? What are they going to do? How are they going to get there? How am I going to get there? Can I stop and wait so I can catch up with them? There's many, many, many key river skills hidden in this game. And it's hilarious.
You equally could transition that into something like rock climbing, couldn't you? In as much as you place the duck somewhere and then the next person to do that climb can't do the same moves or the same line as you did up the crag face, or I don't know, you could adapt that into many different outdoor contexts, couldn't you?
I think, yeah, any sport where you need to go somewhere or do something, you can use that for. It's goal orientated, and people are goal orientated. We want to achieve that. We want to get where we were going to. We want to park where we should park. I haven't thought about doing it with other sports, in all fairness. Like I do it a little bit with my younger son's skiing, that we sort of go, instead of him pointing himself straight down the hill and going straight down the hill, which he likes to do, we sort of try and find points. We're going to go to the snow cannon. And then from the snow cannon, we're going to go to the tree. We're sort of going to move around like that. So to following the dot system.
Yeah.
Which seems to work, because we follow our eyes. That's something else I think which people forget. We talk about key skills for coaching and group leadership we were talking about empathy and the psychological thing of how people are feeling, how people work. And there's a couple of other key things, I think, how we operate as humans that we need to be aware of and use to our advantage as opposed to our disadvantage. And one of those is following our eyes. And you hear the analogy of this 100-kilometer long straight road in the desert, and the motorcycle crashes into the only rock in that desert because he's been concentrating on it.
Yeah.
And that's, we follow our eyes. Like if you look hard over your left shoulder, you can't walk in a straight line. That's how we work physically.
That's true. I did a drive in South Africa 3 years ago, and we drive from pretty much the North Atlantic coast or by Namibia of South Africa. And we drove back to Johannesburg, and there's one section of road that goes for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers straight as you like through the middle of the desert. And for the first hour of this drive, there is no accidents. And then suddenly you end up in this one part of the desert where there is lots and lots of accidents. And it's when people get bored of just driving in a straight line, like they've listened to their favorite tunes, they've drunk all their coffee, they've spoken shit with their mates for long enough, and then they start looking about at what else they could maybe spot in the desert, and then suddenly they start crashing their cars habitually. And to the point that tow truck owners go and park their tow trucks out there in the middle of nowhere, because pretty much every day you can guarantee that you're going to get some work.
Oh, that's human nature.
So what else is there? You follow your eyes. Do you have anything else? You tucked up your sleeve of secrets?
What are some of my other favorites? I follow my eyes. Positive instructions. It's quite a simple one, but it's one I see often going wrong on the river. So on a canoe club, we'll use an example of that. They get out the river to have it go and inspect a rapid and show the people who haven't been before the line. And they get out and somebody stands there and says, "Oh, yeah, watch out for that big hole on the right. You don't want to go there." And then somebody else will pipe up, and just below there's a rock. And then further down, there's another big wave, and then there's a tree. And all they've managed to do is highlight all the bad things about this rapid. And then the person gets in their boat at the top of the rapid, and they're right, big hole on my left, don't go there. And then after that, don't go into the rock. And after I've missed the rock, not into the tree. And then we're going back a bit to this following your eyes thing. They've got all the wrong information in their head. So they've gone out, and the first thing they do is look for the hole. Because that's what they can remember. And then because they're looking for it, they're following their eyes. So off they go, and they're guaranteed to end up there. And then if they survive that or not, the next thing is but where's the rock? Where's the rock gone? There's a rock around here somewhere. We're talking about the rock. Where's the rock? Ah, there's the rock. And off they go, heading to the rock. And this is instead of getting out and sitting somewhere and going, right, we're going to start off on the right. We've got a big green V on the right. Then we're going to skirt over towards the left, moving through those waves, and there's a big eddy on the right. And you can describe exactly the same rapid in two different ways.
Mm.
So
Can
it's very, very important for me to get this positive information in people's heads. So what they should be doing opposed to what they shouldn't be doing.
Can I share with you one of the moments in my guiding life that sticks in my head with regards to just what you're saying and when I epically screwed it up?
Yeah, I would love to hear this.
So 1998, I'm in the Himalayas guiding kayak groups. And we get a group come out from the UK. And I know a couple of the group, and one of them in particular is a relatively highly qualified British Canoe Union coach. And we end up with this one section. Neil and I, we've got 8 kayakers. Neil and I are both guiding them down the river. We've eddied them out above this one rapid. And this one rapid down the right-hand side of the river, and it's literally split in 2 halves. Down the right-hand side of this big Nepalese river is a big tongue with some pretty epically large crashing waves, but nothing that's going to kill you. I mean, the worst thing is to get a wave crash on top of you. It'll flip you upside down and you'll roll up, or you'll swim downstream through the wave train onto the flat bits and all will be good. And on the left-hand side of the river is a pour over that is about, I actually know it's about 3.5 meters high. And like it wouldn't kill you, but you really don't want to be there. And
Ruin your day.
it would ruin your day. So we're sat there. Neil's already paddled down the river and eddied out. I brief the group and I say, right, what I want you all to do is to eddy out here, stick to the right-hand half of the river, go down through the wave train and find me at the bottom. And what I'd like you all to do is definitely stick to the right. Do not, whatever you do, do not go left. And I picked the guy with the highest qualifications and I said, I want you all to follow this guy, thinking he's bound to get it. And I paddle down this rapid. I eddy out about halfway down this wave train. And I look upstream to find this most highly qualified guy ferrying across to the left-hand half of the river. The whole group following him. And he dropped the whole group through this ginormous pour over. Now, he was paddling I think it was called, is it a Creek 380 or something like that? It was like an old school Piranha original Creek.
A Creek 280.
A 280, that's it. He was paddling one of those. And it was a green boat with a red nose cone on the end. And yeah, that's it. As I saw him doing it, my heart sinks into my testicles virtually. I mean, I'm just like, oh. And no matter how much whistling, waving, or anything else you do, you're just stuffed. There's nothing you can do about it. And he drops the whole group off this pour over and through this hole. And all I remember him seeing it happening is the group popping up like popcorn about 5 to 10 meters further downstream, miraculously all still in their boats. Apart from this one guy, the most qualified guy, who's getting cartwheeled end over end over end, and all I see is green, red, green, red, green, red, as he's going round end over end. And at that point in time, I'm sat there going, why did you mention the hole?
It's a fascinating place of responsibility to be, I think, is when you're with clients on the river and you know, okay, this rapid, it's not difficult, but it's got hazards. And 9 times out of 10, I think it's better just not to mention them at all. Nobody needs to know about the bad things. They just need to know the way.
That's it.
It's this, you can use the same logic. You've got a rapid. On the right, there's an undercut. We can say it, and on the left, there's a big eddy. And then it's the decision as you're the guide. Do you A, get in a position where you can protect the undercut? Or do you B, go to the position where people should go to, their safe place, go to the eddy? And the best solution is to be in a position where you can do both. But somebody going down the rapid, if they're tired, having a harder time than they're expecting, they're going to lift up their head and look for somebody, for a person.
Yep.
And if they look for that person, then they're gonna find them. It's like the rock, it's like the tree. They're gonna go to that person. And if that person sat above an undercut, kaboom, that's where they're going.
I often talk about the principle of leaders, guides, and coaches being magnetic, and you attract people to you no matter where you go to. So better attract them somewhere that's happier than sadder.
Yep.
That is all very, very, very interesting stuff. So tell people where it is that they need to go, and only tell them. Like, the best example of this is Google Maps. Like, when you follow Google Maps doesn't say, oh, I don't know. I'll tell you.
Don't turn left. Don't turn left. Don't turn left. Watch out for the dinosaur. No, it doesn't. It says.
Yeah, or in the past 12 months, 13 people have died on this bend. Like, or 13 people have crashed their car on this bend. You really don't want to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Or in a cooking recipe, don't turn the oven to 300 degrees. You'll burn. Don't set the oven to 100. It won't cook. Don't cut your fingers with a knife. It's something that I think we all know and understand and do. But bizarrely enough, when we come to the river, and probably this could be the same in other sports, we forget this way of thinking and start doing it a different way.
But that comes to the same as giving, when you're coaching, the same as giving feedback, isn't it? Like, if you tell somebody what they did wrong, chances are they already know what they did wrong. What they want from you as the coach is how to do it right. So what you need to tell them is, this is how to make it better, not beat them up about all the shit stuff they did that they already know about.
Yes.
And that brings me on to the next point, though. So when is it appropriate then to start talking, having conversations with people about the stuff, the dangerous stuff they need to be aware of if they're there without you and have to start making those decisions for themselves? When do you start introducing that with people?
Day one.
Okay.
And there's, like, we have our river here, the Forderrhein, and we talk about, okay, people love it. Is it dangerous? And you're like, is it dangerous? I'm like, I'd say the most dangerous thing about my local river is the water temperature. Because when we start teaching on our river in April, let's say at Easter, I expect the water's going to be about 4 degrees Celsius. That's cold.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's cold. And when we're going through to in September to the end of October, we might have jumped up to about 14 or 15. And 14 degrees Celsius is also still pretty cold.
Yeah, for everybody who doesn't know where you are, you're paddling on glacier melt and snow melt all year round. Second.
And so that is for me the biggest danger. How do we protect ourselves from this big danger? We dress correctly. No? And then when we've got a problem and a solution.
Yes.
Yeah? And I think
you don't need to labour the problem either, do you?
Pardon?
You don't need to labour the problem.
No, that's how it is. And people, I think for a lot of people, people have preconceptions. I've been canoeing before. This river looks wilder than I've done before. Is it dangerous? What could happen? And then we go, as I say, I think that the biggest danger to most people on our river is they get hypothermia.
Yeah, because the mind says it's blue sky and sunshine, and yet the water temperature will do something drastically different to you.
Very quickly, yeah. And there's a lot of other things we can do with stuff like this. You can say, oh, big dangers, yeah. And you have some people, they'll come for 3 days coaching or a week, and you'll never see them again. They've had their They've tried, they've got information, and they like their adventure. They're going to go out and learn on their own. They're going to go out and do it on their own. And that's great. But there's some things they need to know to protect themselves about things which will happen to them. And another one of my favorite things, like, dress yourself properly. And when you're out on your own or with your friends and you capsize and you lose the boat, because that's going to happen, it's happened to everybody, is please, please, please call the police and tell them you've lost your kayak. Because then nobody jumps out and gets in their helicopter and calls everybody else up and starts looking for somebody.
Yeah. That is very true. And that goes across all sports. Like if you lose your skis or your snowboard by accident, if you lose your rucksack, anything like that that's got where people could go, oh my goodness me, there was a person attached to this once and now there's not. Calling out the police or the rescue services unnecessarily is just daft.
It is daft, but it's unnecessary. I think and you've got this nightmare situation of two incidents at the same time. And one of them's looking for somebody who's sat in the pub drowning their sorrows because they've lost their kayak, and the other one generally needs help. And the rescue services can't tell the difference between that.
Yeah.
You can call, say, look, terribly sorry, I've lost my boat. It's green and it's got a red end and I lost it here at this time. If somebody finds something half an hour later, a couple of kilometers downstream, we can pretty much be certain it's probably the same thing.
Yes.
And that saves an awful lot of people and time and money. And it might just save a life somewhere else. And that's something else I think is very important to work on in that situation. I've sort of forgotten where we started with this.
And it doesn't really matter. Like the whole point of this is to ramble around topics of interest and see where we get to, really. I mean, it's all good. At the end of the day, it's our conversation. Other people are just joining us.
That's good. They can rewind and probably, can't they? And listen back to what I said.
Yeah, in fact, if somebody can put in the YouTube comment section or Facebook comment section where you was this and now you've rambled about nothing for 20 minutes and we've learned some stuff, but the question we didn't answer was, that would be really useful.
Well, that happens to me quite a lot. Like I speak about the firework learning principle of if people come and they want to learn about canoeing. And there's a few important things we have to learn, but there's the most important thing to learn is what people want to learn. Somebody who's motivated and interested and asks a question. It's the best thing in the world. And I say to people, if you've got a question, ask me. I love to be distracted. It's the best thing in the world which can happen to us is people showing interest.
Yeah, otherwise you're not, I think you're not actually coaching if you don't adopt that your philosophy, because I think otherwise you're just on like raft guide / direct instruction mode, where you just tell people what you think they should be interested in and what you think they need to learn, as opposed to actually saying, hey, what you're struggling with, what have you got ideas about, how can I help you?
Yeah, it's definitely not my job to teach somebody how to canoeing. It's my job to help them learn to canoe.
And that's a massive difference between like outdoor instruction and I suppose decent quality coaching. Is the coach is whose agenda are you working off the agenda of a script where it's the first hour of the day or the fourth hour of the day we must do this, or are you actually hanging out with a group of people, showing interest in them and saying, hey, how can I help you?
I don't think I know anybody who's worked in the outdoors for, I'm going to say decades, I think, just because that word's been flying around a lot recently, who works from a script. I think the people who work from a script get bored very quickly.
It's interesting. The people I find who work from a script often end up with more accidents than the rest of us.
Oh, really?
Or they end up putting clients in places where a client isn't ready to be yet, in physically or mentally ready to be yet, because it's the the coach or instructor's agenda. So they're like, I want to go here and I want to do that. So I'm going to take my clients here to go do this, whether they're ready for it or not. Whereas those of us who actually sit back and listen to the client and say, okay, cool. Hey, I've got a great idea. Are you up for it? And if the client says no, you're right. Okay, no worries. We'll move on. But if the client says yes, then you do go there. But actually, we end up a lot safer because of it. And clients learn how to like motivate themselves, think for themselves, manage their own risk. They do all sorts of very valuable things that is more than just how to Eskimo roll or how to paddle in a straight line or any of those other things that people decide they should be teaching.
It's something else has just come up, which I first realized it last year after I'd done it for I don't know how many times, is the importance of showing people it's okay to give up, to saying, right, stop, we're walking out the river now. Today's finished. We're not at the end, but we're going to turn around and go back. And I think it's very, very hard sometimes to say stop or to say no. And you can see with a group of friends, it's even worse. Like you're all sat there and you should have been out to takeout 2.5 hours ago, and it's getting dark and you're cold. And I just want to finish now, please. And you're kind of like, should we just carry on or should we try and get out somehow? And I mean, I've got no shame in doing that in a group of people saying stop. Like it's a funny unwritten rule I got myself is if we go away on a trip somewhere for a week, I normally try and do everybody's favorite section of river on the last day. Obviously, it's difficult if people have got different favorites, but you normally find a situation where everybody's happy.
Yep.
So we can all go back and enjoy something we've already enjoyed. And it's normally twice as much fun. And I did it once last year, or maybe even twice last year. No, once last year, once the year before. Or maybe more than that, who knows. And went with groups, and we went to do a new section of the river on the last day, which they hadn't done before. And both times we hiked out.
Oh, really?
Yep. And it was just, you've got to the end of the week, and the one we did this year, or last year, I sat down with a group and said, normally we'd do it this way, but the water levels for this section are incredible. It's really pretty. It was an absolutely gorgeous section of river. And talk about it amongst yourselves. If you're fit and you're keen, we'll go. And if not, we're going to do something else. And they were all like, straight away, bam, yeah, we'll do it. Let's go tonight if we're keen. And we spent ages in there. Like we got in above a little gorge, paddled down, came out the bottom of this little gorge, and there was still 3 or 4 kilometers to go, and it was 3:45. And I was just like, look, there's a bridge just there. We'll just get out. We've finished for today. And they were like, is this where we park the car? I'm like, no. I'm like, well, why don't we paddle to the car? And I'm like, well, why? Like, we've had a great day. It's 3:45 on our last day. We can get out here. Let's just get out.
And it's not just that, you know, when as you know, I managed the Adventure Dolphin Centre for a good few years, and I've managed another couple of adventure centres and my own adventure sports business as well. And I did a lot of risk analysis at one point in time of when do accidents most happen in the outdoors with groups of clients. And most accidents happen on the 3rd or 5th day. Don't ask me. Well, I got some theories as to why, but most accidents happen on the 3rd or 5th day. And I think it's because most people who recreate in the outdoors get to do it at weekends. So they go hard on a Saturday. They have too much beer on a Saturday night. They go as hard as they can on a Sunday. And then they go home and they're tired and they rest and they go to work on Monday. Whereas if you're on a longer experience, like day 3 or day 5 is often where people are getting to their physical threshold, like they're I won't say exhausted, but they're much more tired than they realize. And so often we do need to go and call a day short on one of those days. We've had a great time, but if people are tired, the likelihood of accidents happening jumps up dramatically. So let's not have that. Let's just finish with a big smile on our face and go and have a cold beer.
Yep. I'll throw something in the mix here. Is half days. We'll do that. So, okay, your third day or fifth day, we'll do a half day. And there's only one way to guarantee a half day, and that's start at lunchtime.
That's so true.
Saying starting in the morning, your half day will be finished at 3:30 or something, and that will come, which might only be half an hour shorter than the whole day.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way round. No, we're going to the river at midday. There we go. It's a guaranteed half day.
Yeah, that and a shorter stretch of river. Away you go.
Yeah, or less play. There's all kinds of tricks around this.
I often think though that I like this idea of saying either no to people, or we're stopping now, we're getting out now. We can always hitchhike or walk or jog to go get the vehicles. That's never really an issue.
To jog, I'm not going to jog anywhere.
Neither can I at the moment. I'm a bit unfit. I've been sat on my backside too much. I've lost my train of thought. Say no. Oh yeah, so it's 4:45 in the afternoon. I think most people forget just how hard a crappy situation becomes when it gets dark and when you get tired. And you can go and take something that at 10 o'clock in the morning would be awkward, but you'll manage it and deal with it, to at 5:30 in the afternoon becomes like really flipping dangerous, not only for you and your clients, but or the paddlers you're involved with, but also for the rescue services as well. Darkness and coldness brings upon a whole new level of risk, I suppose. And so many people want to use every daylight hour. And I think that can be dangerous, because you end up pushing it and paddling out in the dark, which is fine until you have a moment where you can't paddle out in the dark because of something's happened, somebody's tired. And then you end up creating, like, that last hour on the water screws up 6 hours of amazingness for the sake of one more hour.
And the day after, and the day after, and the day after, potentially.
Well, and even like years after, because somebody says, oh, you lost your boat and broke your arm on X river. Who were you paddling with? And they say, oh, I was paddling with Rob of X business. And in the back of that person's head, they go, they don't hear all the context. They just go, that guy in that business can't be that good.
Yep. I think it's about having reserves. It's about having a bit of a cushion, about having your plan B. And being able to sit in the sunshine. Like, I love being on the river and I love going out, but there's also this camp life. Like, it's cooking on the fire, having time to wash up afterwards, be able to sit down with people and talk about the day and reflect and plan. There's a lot more to a day outside on the river than just being outside on the river. And this must be the same if you're climbing, if you're hiking, if you're mountain biking.
Definitely.
And there's a lot of time to, like, it's one of the nicest things is a little bit like what we're doing now is sat down after a nice meal around a fire with some friends, laughing and reflecting on the events of the day.
Yeah.
that is absolute gold. To be able to just sit down and go, whoa, like, dude, you had an awesome surf on that wave there. You were surfing for ages. That's really cool. Or the idea, we scouted the rapid and you were like, oh, I'm going to hit this line. You're like, wow, like, respect. And then you did exactly what you said you were going to do. It worked perfectly. It's like, It's a really nice part of the day.
Mm.
And getting off the river at 7:30, everybody's knackered. All they want to do is have some food and hang their clothes up and go to bed. And you miss out on that. And you come up the next day and every sort of big bags on their eyes. And we're like, oh, what are we going to do today? And I sometimes trying to extend one day too long knocks into the next day.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
A domino effect.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I worked at Riverside in Oxford, you actually got to meet some of the young kayakers. I think we came out to Switzerland and Italy and hung out with you for a little while. I don't remember that the other year.
We went to the Vitaska, didn't we?
We did. You remember I broke my foot.
Oh yeah, you broke your foot. Yes.
I broke my foot on that trip. But those young guys hadn't been kayaking that long, really, in terms of years, although in terms of hours on the water, they put in loads and loads and loads of hours. But they used to come and hassle me. Like those guys would have, young guys, they'd have kayaked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, given half the chance. And as you know, on the Monkey Island, otherwise known as the United Kingdom, in the middle of winter, it's not very pleasant in central England to go kayaking at 7:30 at night. It's dark, it's cold, it's probably raining. It's just not very pleasant. And so I used to spend ages getting them in front of videos of kayaking. You know, Steve Fisher are doing whatever Steve Fisher was doing recently, or whoever it was back then, and getting them watching kayaking and talking about kayaking. And I think that the training the brain is just as important as training the body. And a lot of that reflection and conversation is just creating those links in your head of, oh, wow, the coach really, really liked that surf I did. And it just like secures that surf in that person's head as a really positive thing that they're really good at. So next time they do it, they get that sensation back again that last time I surfed, James said it was the best surf he's ever seen on that wave. I'm a really good surfer, and therefore their physical ability goes up at the same time.
Yes, we're coming back to a point we had earlier. This is positive information.
Yes.
This is so important for us as people, is to be able to attach a good feeling. And then we're coming back to our team of psychology. It's like it's a happy thing.
And exhausted people or tired people don't give positive information very well, and certainly don't receive it very well either.
Well, they survive.
Yeah.
But I'm not. It's that surviving is very important. Enjoying, that's where we're at. I don't want my clients to survive a week with me. I want them to enjoy a week with me.
But also, like, survival requires pretty close to zero skill. Whereas styling and enjoying something actually you have to have an ever increasing amount of skill to actually make it look good.
Yes. And making it look good it's guaranteed. You can't make something bad good.
No, because it is just bad.
Wait. If you go full circle, Rob paddled over this double drop in New Zealand. He survived. It didn't look good, but it was okay.
Yeah. And then the Aussie guy who styled the first drop got his ass kicked and swam in the second drop.
Indeed. Yeah, with style and a smile. That's something I used to say quite a lot, actually, now I think about it.
Stick it back into next year's vocabulary.
With style and a smile.
Awesome. Hey, James, I want to give you 60 seconds. I want to give you a chance to rant. Now, I know that 60 seconds is probably too short, so I won't cut you short. But I also have known you well enough to know that you often have the ability to rant about something that's either delighted you or frustrated you, that either you wish people did more or did less of. And I'd like to give you 60 seconds or more to rant about something you experienced in the outdoors that you either think people should do more of or less of.
Okay. I'm going to say it's like a statement I wrote about when I was at university.
Go for it.
Okay. Regular participation and enthusiasm is no replacement for competence.
Ooh, go on.
Yep. We've met a lot of people and they just love showing other people how to canoe. They love it. The trouble is they can't do it themselves. And I end up with lots of people, that's not fair. I end up with people who are really excited and they've go, oh, I've been there and I've learned all this. And I'm like, but that's crap. That's absolutely useless. And I have to spend a very long time taking them apart and putting them back together again and paddle properly. And it's very difficult, I think, the sport we do, canoeing, it goes in that box of low budget outdoor sports. You can join a club and meet lots of very passionate people who love to help you and give you advice. Or you can pay money for professional coaching. And that's how I make my job and my living, from investing an awful lot of time in keeping up to date with techniques and developing new ideas and theories and strategies about how people learn better, how they paddle better, instead of just copying and pasting what somebody else told me that somebody else told them 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we can turn this around and you can put on, you find some people in the middle of a gorge in the river. Yeah, we go canoeing every weekend and this is great. I'm like, dudes, you're in a real mess. Like, how did we end up there? Like, why didn't you look at the weather to see what the river was going to do today? Didn't you realize that your 18-meter throw line is not long enough to upsail down this 25-meter drop? Well, no.
But James, 18 meters is the perfect length, isn't it?
Not when the drop's 25, Rob, no.
I love that. People have come to me when I've done whitewater safety and rescue courses. They're like, what's the perfect length of throw line for me to buy? I'm like, you should buy 6 and all of them at different lengths, because there isn't a perfect length. I know, but I only really want to buy one. Right, well, probably you're better off buying none then, because if you've got an 18-meter line and a 25-meter drop, you're useless anyway, so you shouldn't have one.
I think everyone should take a throw line. I think we can. Veranda's been forgotten now. The last time I went on the Grand Canyon, 3 years ago. I decided I'm not going to bother taking a throw line because there's hardly any trees to tie it between to dry my stuff. And my 18-meter throw line, coincidentally, is almost certainly be far too short to be any use whatsoever.
You won't have got out the eddy.
Indeed, yeah. Funny you should mention the word eddy here. So, I don't know, after several days on the river of not missing my throw line, or no, I did miss my throw line because it felt funny paddling without a throw bag. I just get dressed, you put it around your waist. I'm like, it's part of everything I have. But you learn to change, and then we had one of those situations like the line here is pretty easy. There's a big tongue on the right, and there's this fuck off, huge, recirculating, horrible, nasty eddy on the left. Don't go in there. And we all know what happens when you say things like that. Ta-da-da-da-da! Shortly afterwards, there's a person swimming around in this eddy. It's kind of like it's cut out. So it's I don't know, 3 or 4 meters rock down into this eddy.
Ugh.
And it took us quite a long time to find a throw bag. Luckily, we found it quick enough that we could bag her and try and get her out of there, and nothing went wrong. Well, we were lucky, I would say. I mean, it could have gone wronger than it did. But had everybody had a throw line around their tummy, we would have been a lot quicker and a lot slicker and have a lot more reserve. And then a few days later, we had a similar experience, but this time with an eddy on the right-hand side of the river and not on the left, with somebody getting stuck in there with their boat. How on earth they got there is a mystery to me. Absolute mystery, but they ended up there. And we were, this time, a little bit quicker with our master planner because we knew where the couple of throw bags were that we had. Until we realised the first 2 people there who could have live baited this guy out. Neither of them had a chest harness on their buoyant sets. Because you don't really need one on the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it's big and boily, and away you go.
Yeah, what do you need a chest harness for on there? So always wear a buoyant set of a chest harness on the river, and always take your throw bag.
There you go. Well, it's about increasing the range of opportunity for yourself, isn't it? Without dragging yourself down with 13 tons of rescue equipment. It's about having
60 throw lines.
See, have a load of throw lines, but yeah, increasing that range of opportunity for you to sort stuff out if it goes wrong is always very valuable.
Yeah, and I think it's something that you always learn from stuff. And hopefully, every time something happens, you sit down around the campfire in the evening and chat it out with your buddies and think about what we did well, what we could improve on next time. And the guys we went to the canyon with, like, we talked to it. You're going to take a throw line. What do you need a throw line for? They said, I thought exactly the same thing. And until you're presented with that situation, you're not aware that anything can happen. Like I'd been before. I hadn't taken a throw. We never needed a throw line. But everywhere else I go, I take my throw bag with me. Like sometimes even when I go on the lake with my kids, I take my throw bag.
Yeah.
Like, more out of repetition, out of habit. I just take it with me all the time. Or being stood there with, I didn't need that because it's not serious today. It's very important to build in a little bit of reserve about what you're going to do.
I also think, though, I do a lot of quite high-level sports coaching these days. International athletes, Olympians, professional rugby teams, all sorts of things. And
you come and help me cross-country ski then.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily do the sports-specific side of things, but anyway, I'll tell you about that when we're not in the podcast. But one of the things we focus a lot on is about pre-performance routines, and you have, whether you know it or not, and I would suspect you do, you have a routine in the way that you dress yourself when you go kayaking. Like you put your things on usually in a certain order. For me, my last thing that I do is my helmet and clip my helmet up. And when I clip my helmet up, that's like game time. Yeah. And I remember paddling on the White Nile the first time. I didn't have my throw line around my waist, and I paddled atrociously, and everything felt wrong. And the following day, I put my throw line on, and everything felt great. And I never needed to use the throw line once, but I think in my habitual pre-performance routine of getting dressed, putting that throw line on underneath my spray skirt around my waist is, or over the top of my spray skirt behind me, depending upon what I'm doing. That habit is a significant part of me preparing myself to paddle properly. And if I miss it, I have to accept the fact that either I'm going to spend a lot of time needing to sort myself out so I do paddle properly again, or I'm not going to paddle properly, one or the other.
I think they say this is with routine. This is a safety net for us as people. We're coming back to our psychology again. And it's something which is very fascinating is when you go on an expedition somewhere and you've got a group of people who probably know each other quite well. Sometimes you go away with people you don't really know, but you've just got a common goal to go and do the same thing, to go and explore this area or this river. And you're constantly facing challenges there. Everything's new every day. Something which should have worked like that is now doing that. And it's one of the biggest challenges, I think, for me, for us as people when we're out there, is how do we deal with this uncertainty? So we could, not knowing what's round the corner. Can I just go around the corner? And the river's flat. Am I going around the corner? Have I got a massive rapid I've got to take care of? It's 6:30. It's getting dark. Hopefully, there's a beach around the corner where we can climb out and camp. And if we're lucky, there's some firewood. You come around the corner, there's a gorge. Like, awesome. Where are we going to go and sleep now? Are we going to? Yeah. So you've been there and done that as well. Have we got enough food? Have we got enough water? And it's a fascinating mind space for me to be in. This is adventure exploring. And you're so busy thinking about all kinds of things. And everything else in the world pales in significance. Like all these little problems at home, like is my car dirty or not? Or is my living room a mess? They're completely unimportant things.
Well, they are, aren't they? And I actually find for myself, if you were to say to me, when are you the best version of you, Rob? Like when do you feel like you're the best version of Rob Yates? And the truth is, when I'm either on an expedition myself to somewhere I've never been to before and neither of the people I've been to, or when I'm on an expedition and I'm in charge, and I've done it before, but I've got a whole bunch of new people who have got a variety of different skill sets and also human attitudes as well. You know, from the person who says yes even when they really should say no, through to the arrogant person to the whatever else. And that headspace that you get yourself into for days on end is when I feel most in tune with me. I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all, but like
I completely following you, and I agree. I am exactly the same. It's a fascinating me.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm combining all my strengths and all my skills at the same time.
And, you know, decades of experience all come into play at the same time as well.
Yeah. It's the complete package. It's and then it's something which is very nice when you're in the middle of it, and it's relieving and saddening at the same time at the end.
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
Like, right. You can get to the end of a journey and everybody is fit and healthy at the end. Nothing's gone really wrong. You haven't broken anything. Like everything's worked according to plan. Like there's always a few things which are a bit different, things change around, but in the grand scheme of things, it was just great. And you're like,
I did it again. I pulled it off.
I've done it again, yeah. And then, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? I remember the last time, where were we? We had a long journey, 10, 12 days maybe. And wild camping and living on the way. And when we got off and got back to our hotel where we were staying, me and the other guy who'd been leading the journey put our bags in our room and went across the road for a beer or two, and all the customers went for a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, well, like, you're not going for a shower. I'm like, I can have a shower in an hour. I haven't had a shower for 10 days. You just need to sit down, and it's just like, it's a big wave of whoa, and there's so much information. It's a lovely experience, but it's sad. It's sad to be finished.
It is. But we're lucky because we've been privileged enough that we get to press reset over 24 or 48 hours, maybe 3 days. And then we get to, once the sadness has passed and the relief has passed, as I did it again, everybody's off safe and happy and they're all coming back again some days. So that's even better. Yeah. And then you get to press reset for a few days and go and do it again and relive that. And I think both of us are very fortunate to have been, and for you still to be in that situation. Because for most people, all of our customers feel that relief and that sadness as they go off to have their shower. But for them, that's their one trip of the year that they're going to get to go and do that on. And yeah, I maybe they're not brave enough to live a lifestyle like you live and I live and we've both led. I don't know what it is, but I almost feel sadness for them in some respects that they have to go back to a job. Yeah.
There's all kinds of components you could put into this. You can say that we professionally deliver once in a lifetime experiences, which is cool. We do it all the time. I'm very glad that I've got people who want to come and do that with me. That makes me happy. I'm also glad that not everybody does that, because otherwise there'd be no space outside.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that you come back from your once in your lifetime experience and try to go to the shop to buy some food, but you can't because they're all outside doing stuff. That'd suck.
Yeah. Or you try telling somebody about the once in a lifetime experience and the whole pub around you has done exactly the same thing and they've all had the same experience. And you're like, oh, well, there's no
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah. That twice. Yeah, but
Touche.
that's cool. I think you can do things like that over and over again. As you go out to places, and certainly we have rivers with different water levels. You can have mountains with different snow conditions. You can go to the same place year in, year out, and it's never quite the same. Can you go? That's I'm sat here juggling all this stuff around in my head, thinking, oh, isn't it great? Well, all the nice times I've had outside, and thinking about really looking forward to going outside again.
Well, and it's interesting that you've just summarized a few seconds ago in like one sentence, almost what it is that you're great at, and almost this whole conversation has been around I'm going to say the art and the science of delivering repetitive once in a lifetime experiences for people.
Yeah, the art and science.
Yeah, by repetitive, I mean that the same client group can come back and see you next year, and yes, they might have the Vorderrhein, the Valley, and yes, they might have James, but this week in 2020 is going to be just as good, just as exhilarating, just as once in a lifetime as the week they had with you in 2019.
I hope it'll be better. I hope that we can, when people come back, that you can, during a week, you make steps socially and with sport, and you make progression. And I hope you can, when people come back again and again, you can progress every time a little bit further. Like, you discovered something that you didn't know last year, and that's one of the things which keeps me so interested in my job. Is always teaching different things. Is always having new ideas. Have you tried this? What about doing this? And I sort of have, for the last couple of years, I've had something for me personally. I give myself a little challenge every year to practice more. I think it all started about 5 or 6 years ago, or 7 or 8 years ago, somewhere in Corsica. Right at the beginning of the season, we got on and got off the ferry, and pretty quickly you go and do one of your favorite rivers, probably not one of the easiest rivers, but just because the water's there. I remember having a real nightmare trying to roll back up again. and you're underwater, and you go, well, I just roll back up again. I've done that 1,000 times in my life, and just roll half up and think, oh bollocks, that's not going to work, is it? I'll do another one. And after about the third or the fourth attempt, I came up, and you've sort of got this phase going through your head of, you capsize, I'll just roll back up again. I can do that, because you've done it loads of times, haven't thought about it. And then the second time, I'll try again. And by the third time, you've got this little thought creeping in. When's the last time you did actually do a roll? And you're like, oh, it was September, and now it's April. It's almost half a year you haven't tried this. And now you're trying to do it in a difficult place. So buck up. So you try again, and if it works, and if it doesn't work, you're like, oh, can I still do this, Uber? And then you roll up, and you're like, right, I need to practice that. And I had a whole year of rolling everywhere to solve that problem. Just so you don't do things like we don't roll as much as we used to.
I remember, and we need to bring this conversation to a close in a minute, but I remember a time a few years ago when I had a couple of hours free, and I ended up at Hurley Weir on the River Thames on 3 gates on my own. But it was that cold that icicles were hanging off the weir structure, and the Thames had gone to a very, when the Thames gets very, very cold, it gets very, very clear as well. The Thames was very, very clear. And I don't know what temperature it was, but I'm going to guess it was -degrees centigrade. It was Baltic. And I'm on my own. I'm on my own at a location that is very safe. I've been to thousands of times before. I'm a very competent kayaker. And I ended up upside down after doing trying to do some trick on the wave. And I'm bobbing down the wave train. And my brain is in that like cold shock of like frozenness. And I'm just thinking, I'm all right, but I really should try and roll up at some point in time. And I don't think I can remember the last time I rolled. In fact, I'm pretty sure it'll work, but I'm not 100% sure it'll work because I haven't done it for that long. And of course, you pop back up again, but I just remember having this eerie experience and then deciding maybe I should get off now and go paddle back to the van and go drive home. Anyway, Mr. Weir, I just want to thank you for this conversation. You've inspired me to come paddling with you and see you again, having not seen you for probably 10 or 12 years. And I just want to thank you as well for the hundreds of thousands of other people that you've inspired through magazine articles, designing kayaking clothing, videos, coaching in person, or just showing a group of strangers how to style something on a river. I don't think you realize the impact positively you've had on the world about you, and I'm sure will continue to have. So I just want to thank you for that, and invite you back for another chat again at some point in time.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was nice to relive some old memories, and it's nice to dive around in my headspace. Actually, it's a funny old space in my head, but I think it's a very happy place.
Yeah, very, very happy. And the insights you shared in this podcast with people have been golden. I just encourage people to go and think laterally and think, well, so James can do that as a professional canoe guide, canoe coach on whitewater and flat water. How could I transition that into the mountains, the rock face, the scuba diving, the whatever else I do? Because I think all of it is easily transferable with a little bit of lateral thought.
Yes, I think there's a small skill set, a specific skill set to a sport, but as you've mentioned several times, it's the dynamic of groups and people is sometimes not taken seriously enough.
Cool. Right. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rob. Have a nice day, my friend.
And you, my friend. This episode is brought to you by the We Get Outdoors tribe, where your next adventure is just one click away. You can join the fastest growing outdoor group on planet Earth, and become part of a tribe of like-minded outdoor enthusiasts, sharing your adventures, their adventures, trips and insights, and helping to ensure you plan and have the most perfect adventures. Click on the link in the description below to join for free right now.